this snow right now!
I can't do that.
This
is not your street.
Say that again! Who do you think you are? He's just the plow guy.
Step back from the ridge.
Because he thinks papers scare us.
They should.
You can't do this!
You already did.
It doesn't even make sense. There's snow. Don't twist this.
Tell them where the snow came from.
This is harassment!
It's evidence. Evidence of what? Illegal dumping.
It's just snow!
Then why is there road waste in it?
Enough! He's enjoying this.
Open the street and maybe we talk.
You had that chance before dawn.
Before dawn, when your trucks cross my line.
Trucks? Everyone stay back.
Why are you listening to him?
Because the snow came from over there.
Southfield, I saw trucks.
Let her finish.
Open this road.
Opening, make him move it!
Read this first.
Oh my God.
Do not touch his papers.
Too late.
The HOA president stood in the freezing street, screaming at the black man in the orange work coat as a wall of their own dirty winter snow blocked every car from leaving. "You can't do this," she yelled. But why had that same snow been dumped across his private field at dawn? Why did the neighbors laugh when he warned them the land was protected? And why did the quiet plow driver keep a sealed folder under the seat of his truck? By sunset, the board, the sheriff, and every silent neighbor would learn that the man they mocked was not just moving snow. He was moving the truth into plain sight for all of them. The wind pushed crystals across Birchline Court like ground glass. Vivian Barlow stood in the frozen street, one finger aimed at the 6-foot ridge of gray snow blocking the only exit. Engines idled in driveways. Brake lights glowed red against garage doors. A blue sled lay half buried in slush that smelled of salt and diesel. "Move it," Vivian snapped. "Right now." Marcus Ellison stood beside his old plow truck. His orange work coat was stained at the cuffs. "I can't do that." Grant Wexler hurried to her side with a tablet. "You can't block an HOA road. This is an emergency access route." Marcus looked at the street sign shaking in the wind. "It is not an HOA road." A few residents laughed, just enough to choose a side. Someone muttered, "He's lost it." Vivian stepped closer. "You used to clear county shoulders, Mr. Ellison. That does not make you a lawyer, a surveyor, or whatever you are." Marcus took a folded paper from inside his coat and held it out. No one reached for it. Deputy Caleb Norris stood near his cruiser. County Inspector Martha Liu studied the snow wall, the drainage ditch beneath it, then the orange flags along the curb. "Mr. Ellison," the deputy said, "why is this street closed?" Vivian swung toward him. "Why are you asking him? He is the problem." Marcus slid the paper under his wiper. "Because they dumped this snow on protected land." "We dumped nothing," Grant said too quickly. From a porch 3 houses down, Ellen Price lowered her phone. Beside her, Thomas Reed held his cane with both hands, staring at the ridge. Vivian noticed the phones rising. This man is holding 32 homes hostage because he has a grievance against a community that improved this neighborhood. Marcus looked at the snowpack. In the gray wall were gravel, broken twigs, a crushed coffee cup, and a strip of yellow caution tape frozen like a vein. It was not clean storm snow. It was road waste, carried somewhere people would not have to look at it. "Mrs. Barlow," Martha said, "stay back from the closure." Vivian blinked. "Closure?" "Temporary safety closure pending property review." Grant's tablet slipped lower. "Pending what?" "The easement line," Marcus said. "The drainage impact, the source of the material." A man at the mailboxes scoffed. "Material? It's snow." Marcus turned his head. "Then you won't mind saying where it came from." Exhaust drifted over the road and vanished against the cold wall. No one answered. Vivian's cheeks reddened. "Open this street, or I will have your truck towed and your little field cited." "My field is not little," Marcus said. The sentence landed harder than a shout. Even the deputy glanced toward the black iron gate where young evergreens bent under dirty ice. Vivian stepped close enough for her boots to touch the ridge. "Who do you think you are?" Marcus removed one glove, finger by finger. The air bit his bare hand. From his shirt pocket, he took out an old photograph. A smiling woman kneeling beside saplings, red ribbons tied to each thin trunk. "I'm the man who warned you before dawn." A gust hit the street. The paper under the wiper snapped once, loud as a small flag. Martha unfolded the top page, and her face changed before she finished the first line. At 5:12 a.m., before anyone on Birchline Court opened a garage, Marcus Ellison scraped ice from his gate latch with a screwdriver. The metal burned through his glove. Beyond it, the field lay blue under dawn. 23 evergreens in uneven rows. Each tree had a red ribbon tied near the top, faded but bright enough to find in a storm. "Morning, May," he said. The wind carried the words away. He climbed into the old plow truck and waited for the heater to cough awake. The cab smelled of cold vinyl, coffee grounds, and salt. On the passenger seat sat a cardboard box marked County Hearing. Maps, drainage reports, certified copies, and one photograph. His phone buzzed. Aaliyah. "Dad, you awake?" Marcus looked at sunrise above the gated roofs. "I'm wearing boots." That is not an answer. It's the only one you get before 6. Her laugh came thin through the speaker. "You're going to that winter access meeting today?" "That's the plan." "And you're going to actually speak?" "If they ask a question." "Dad, I'll make sure the papers are filed." "That's not the same as speaking." A dull clank rolled from the far edge of the property. Marcus turned his head. "Dad? Hold on." He stepped down from the cab. Cold climbed through his boots. Past the first row of evergreens, near the ditch that divided his land from Pine Hollow Estates, fresh tire tracks cut across the crusted snow. They were wide and new. A mound of gray plow waste leaned against his split-rail fence, packed with sand and black road ice. The smallest evergreen wore half its red ribbon under a dirty shell. "What is it?" Aaliyah asked. Marcus walked closer, each step breaking the crust with a dry snap. He crouched and brushed at the branch with 2 fingers. The ice did not move. "Dad, talk to me." Someone crossed the line. "The HOA?" He did not answer. At the fence post, a survey marker had been knocked sideways. "Maybe a driver made a mistake," he said. "You always give people one mistake too many." Marcus looked toward the clubhouse roof beyond the black iron gate. Smoke lifted from its chimney, tidy and white. His field smelled of diesel and gravel. "I have to go over there." "Not alone. It's a conversation. With people who pretend they can't read unless the paper has their logo on it." His eyes returned to the red ribbon trapped under gray ice. Aaliyah softened. "Mom planted those with you." She picked the crooked ones. She said straight trees looked lonely. "Send me a picture," she said. "Right now." Marcus took one photo of the branch, one of the tire tracks, one of the bent marker. The phone clicked 3 times in the frozen air. A snowblower started inside Pine Hollow. He could see a private plow moving along the inner road, yellow beacon spinning, blade clean. At 6:03, he placed May's photograph on top of the box. In it, she knelt beside the evergreens in spring mud, laughing at something outside the frame. "Dad," Aaliyah said. "Promise me you won't let them talk over you." He watched another gray clump slide from the fence and break against the frozen ground. "I'll give them the chance not to," he said. Then he locked his gate and walked toward the community that had already decided his land was empty. At 6:27, Marcus pressed the call button beside Pine Hollow's black iron gate. The speaker crackled. Warm light glowed in the clubhouse beyond Birchline Court. Inside, People moved with paper cups while his coat dripped onto concrete. "Yes?" a woman's voice said. "Marcus Ellison. I need to speak with the board." The gate hummed open. He entered with the white folder against his chest. Meltwater ran from his gloves and tapped the cover in dark spots. The lobby smelled of coffee and wet wool. Vivian Barlow sat at the head of a long table, silver hair pinned tight. Grant Wexler stood behind her with a tablet. 8 residents looked up with the annoyance people saved for problems outside. Vivian checked the clock. "Mr. Ellison, we're in executive discussion." "Your trucks crossed my fence line before dawn." Grant blinked. "Our trucks?" "Snow from your roads is on my field." A woman near the window smiled into her cup. Vivian folded her hands. "Snow falls everywhere." "Not in tire tracks." The smile disappeared. The side door opened, and Dale Sims came in. 58, broad-shouldered, red-faced, a contractor's cap in one fist. "North Bend needed another pass," Dale said. Vivian's eyes stayed on Marcus. "Mr. Ellison believes our operations offended his field." Dale laughed. "The field outside the south ditch?" "My field." "Driver probably pushed overflow. Happens in storms." Marcus laid a boundary photograph on the table. His wet glove left 4 dark ovals on the white page. No one touched it. "This is not overflow. This is dumping." Grant leaned forward. "Are you contracted with Pine Hollow Estates?" "No." "Then we'll verify communication before discussing vendors." "I'm here about my property." Vivian's mouth softened into something worse than a frown. "You plowed county shoulders for years. That doesn't give you authority over private procedures." "It gives me eyes." At the far end, Ellen Price sat still, 63, narrow-faced, blue scarf under her chin. Her phone lay face down. Marcus saw her glance at Dale, then at the stains beneath his folder. Grant tapped his tablet. "Email documents to management. I'll review them when operations slow down." "It needs to stop today." No one moved. A radiator knocked in the wall. 3 hollow taps. Vivian rose. "What needs to stop today is treating our board as if we answer to every man outside the gate." Water slipped from Marcus's cuff onto his wrist. "I rang the bell," he said. A man near the urn snorted. Dale broke a cookie in half. "We'll tell drivers to keep it clean." "Tell them to stay off my property." Grant lifted both hands. "See? That tone makes this difficult." Marcus closed the folder. The glove marks remained on the white paper. Vivian pointed toward the door. "Leave copies with reception." "There is no reception." "Then leave them somewhere appropriate." Ellen's fingers moved toward her phone, then stopped. Marcus tucked the folder under his arm. "I'll bring certified copies next." Vivian smiled. "Bring whatever helps you feel prepared." Outside, cold stiffened his gloves before he reached the gate. On the south road, a plow truck rolled past with its empty bed, tilted enough for gray slush to slide from one corner. At 11:46 that night, the first metal bang woke Marcus before the dog across the road started barking. He sat up in the dark. The floorboards pinched his feet. For 2 seconds there was only the furnace ticking and the orange blink of his phone beside May's photograph. Then came the hydraulic whine. Marcus pulled his coat over a shirt and went out. Snow raced sideways through the porch light. Beyond the evergreens, a dump truck sat with hazard lights pulsing against the field. Its bed lifted like a black jaw. "No," he said, but the word stayed in the doorway. He grabbed the flashlight and crossed the yard. Crust broke under his boots. The beam shook over the fence, the bent marker, the red ribbons flickering between branches. Diesel fumes rolled low and bitter. "Stop the truck!" Marcus called. The driver did not turn. Gray snow thundered down. Ice chunks hit the ground like plates breaking. Salt dust stung Marcus's lips. He raised the flashlight, but the beam disappeared in the exhaust pouring from the stack. "Stop dumping on my property." The cab window slid down. A man in a knit cap leaned toward the gap, narrow-eyed from night shifts, with a pale scar at his chin. "Talk to Dale," he shouted. "What's your name?" The man hesitated. "Nolan." "Nolan, your tires crossed a posted boundary. I got a route sheet." "Who signed it?" The bed kept rising. Slush spat against Marcus's pants. "Who signed it?" Nolan looked toward Birchline Court, where another set of headlights waited behind the hedge. "Sir, I'm not the board." "Then don't become the record." Nolan's hand moved toward the lever. The bed froze halfway, whining in the dark. From the second truck, a horn tapped twice. Nolan flinched. His radio crackled. "Finish the drop. We're behind." Marcus heard Dale's voice under the static. He took out his phone and began recording. "State your route number." Nolan's face tightened. "Don't put me on camera." "Then lower the bed." The horn tapped again, longer this time. A light snapped on across the ditch. Ellen Price stood behind her kitchen window in a robe, phone lifted to her chest, not filming, not hiding. Marcus looked at her and held the flashlight still. Nolan saw her too. "Lady, go back inside." Ellen did not move. The radio crackled again. "Nolan, dump it and roll." Nolan swallowed. "I'm sorry, man." He pulled the lever. The rest of the load crashed down, burying the lower fence rail. Marcus's voice vanished under the metal slam of the empty bed. The smallest evergreen bent until the red ribbon touched the dirty snow. The second truck rolled forward. Marcus stood beside the tracks and lifted his palm. The driver stared ahead, jaw tight. Tires crossed the marker anyway, grinding it deeper until only the orange tip showed. At 12:09, the field was quiet except for ice ticking through branches. Ellen's kitchen light went dark. Marcus returned to the porch with numb fingers and a coat heavy with exhaust. He set the flashlight on the table beside May's photograph. Its lens was smeared gray. On his phone, the recording showed smoke, red lights, and his own voice failing beneath the raised truck bed. Then Nolan's radio came through. "Vivian wants that south ditch filled before morning." By 8:18 that morning, the mailbox cluster looked like a winter court. Residents passed envelopes around while pretending not to watch Marcus at the gate. Meltwater ran along curb toward the ditch behind his fence. "He was out there all night," a man said. "Maybe he likes drama," another answered. Marcus folded a printed still from his phone recording. Across the road, the smallest evergreen leaned under gray crust. Its red ribbon had frozen into the shape of a torn tongue. Vivian Barlow arrived in a cream parka. Grant Wexler followed with a folder. "Good morning," Vivian called. "Since we are all here, I should address last night before rumors spread." Thomas Reed stood near the end box, 71, a retired veteran with a weathered face and a polished cane. He had lived there long enough to remember when Birchline Court was only a service lane. Vivian faced Marcus. "Your conduct near the gate created concern among homeowners. My conduct was on my side of the fence. You blocked drivers. I asked them to stop dumping." Dale Sims leaned on his pickup. "Drivers reported you shining a light into cabs." "To identify who crossed the boundary." Grant cleared his throat. "The board will review whether you interfered with winter operations." A woman in a white scarf whispered, "Can they fine him?" Vivian did not lower her voice. "For unsafe obstruction near community access, We can pursue remedies." "I am not a member of your association," Marcus said. "You affect our association. You stand at our entrance and frighten residents with claims no one has verified." Thomas's cane tapped once. Marcus took May's photograph from his coat pocket. He had meant to leave it in the truck. In the picture, she laughed beside young evergreens, sleeves rolled up. Dale nodded at it. "See? He's making landscaping emotional." A few people laughed, not loudly. That made it worse. Vivian lifted her chin. "Pine Hollow pays for safe snow management. We will not be bullied by a man who thinks a vacant field matters more than 32 families getting to work." "It isn't vacant." One mailbox dripped from its lower lip. A gray drop fell onto May's photograph before Marcus could cover it. It spread across the glossy paper, clouding the green near her hand. No one spoke. Then the woman in the white scarf murmured, "It's just snow." Marcus wiped the photo with his sleeve. The smear stayed. Ellen Price stood on her porch across the ditch, coat unbuttoned, phone in one hand. She looked at Marcus, then at the group, then down at her boots. Last night's kitchen light had gone dark too soon. Grant opened his folder. "We can send written notice by noon." "To whom?" Marcus asked. "To you." "For a property you say you don't recognize?" Vivian answered for him. "For conduct affecting this community." Thomas pulled one envelope from his box. It slipped from his fingers and landed in slush. Marcus folded May's photograph and put it back inside his coat, damp corner first. "I'm going to the archive," he said. Vivian's laugh was small and polished. "Bring back whatever makes you feel important." Marcus walked toward his truck. Behind him, Thomas picked up the wet envelope and watched dirty water run from its torn corner. At 9:41, the county archive smelled of paper dust and radiator heat. Marcus stamped snow from his boots before crossing the marble floor. Every sound traveled. The squeak of his coat, the hollow knock of a cart, the whisper of a copier warming behind glass. Lauren Hayes looked up from the records desk. She was 39, with cropped brown hair, round glasses, and a pencil between two fingers. "Can I help you?" "Property records. South edge of Pine Hollow Estates. Birchline Court easement, drainage map, winter access amendments." Her pencil stopped. "Ellison parcel?" "Yes." Lauren glanced toward the empty lobby. "You're Marcus Ellison?" He nodded. "My father worked county roads. He said you could read ice better than most people read signs." "That was a long time ago." "Not that long." She lowered her voice. "Is this about the HOA?" "It's about snow that isn't theirs on land that isn't theirs." Marcus set the white folder on the counter. Dark half-moons from his wet gloves marked the cover. "Certified copies?" Lauren asked. "Everything certified." He sat beneath a map of township lines. His phone buzzed. Aaliyah had sent one sentence. "Please tell me they didn't laugh again." Marcus typed, "I'm getting records." He deleted it and wrote, "I'm handling it." Lauren opened a drawer labeled Easements 1980 to 2005. Metal runners screamed softly. She carried a thick book to the scanner. "Original access agreement," she said. "Private maintenance reservation. County emergency clause." The copier light slid under the lid, white and cold. "This says the association can't alter the drainage channel without written permission," Lauren said. "I know. And the south lane is partly on your land." "I know. Do they?" "They were offered a copy." "Offered? No one took it." The stamp came down with a heavy click. Certified. A man in a tan overcoat entered from the hall. Grant Wexler's smile appeared late. "Mr. Ellison, busy morning?" "Seems so." Grant stepped closer. No reason to escalate before management reviews the situation. Management was present yesterday. Informally. Your president threatened remedies at the mailboxes. Snow was dumped at midnight. That's an operational dispute. Lauren slid a drainage map toward Marcus. Red boundary lines crossed Birchline Court like a vein under skin. Grant saw it. For a moment, the lobby held only the copier fan and radiator hiss. "I'd like copies too," Grant said. Lauren lifted her pencil. "You can file a request. I'm the HOA manager, and this is a county archive." Marcus placed May's photograph on top of his folder so the damp corner could dry. She was smiling beside the first evergreens. Grant lowered his voice. "Blocking residents will not look good for you." Marcus looked at the stamped seal drying on the page. "Then they shouldn't give me a reason to." At 10:23, Lauren pressed the final seal onto the emergency closure clause. She slid the packet into a brown envelope. "One more map is attached to the 2003 amendment," she said. "It shows who requested the South Lane extension." Grant reached for his phone. Lauren turned the page before he could step away, and Vivian Barlow's old signature sat at the bottom in blue ink. At 11:02, Marcus returned to Pine Hollow with the archive envelope under his arm. Inside the clubhouse, a fire burned too high. The room smelled of coffee and damp wool. Vivian stood at the head of the table, Grant at her shoulder, Dale Sims by the hearth. "I'm here to give formal notice," Marcus said. Vivian did not offer a chair. "We're preparing a response." "So am I." He set the certified pages on the table. Ellen Price sat near the wall, purse tight in her hands. Thomas Reed stood by the coffee urn, cane between his shoes. Grant stared at the county seal. "Where did you get those?" "The archive. Amended in 2003. Emergency closure. Drainage channel." "You're the contractor who put trucks on my land," Marcus told Dale. Vivian lifted the first page by one corner. "You're making a maintenance issue hostile. I'm asking you to stop dumping winter waste on my property, remove what was placed there, and preserve last night's route sheets and invoices." Grant swallowed. "Preserve?" "Yes." Vivian set the warning down as if it carried road salt. "Absurd. It becomes received when I hand it to you." He slid 3 copies forward. No one took them. Vivian's mouth tightened. "You people bring papers after the work is done." Ellen's fingers tightened around her purse strap. Thomas looked up. Grant said, "Vivian." "No. I'm tired of being lectured by someone outside this community." Marcus kept one hand on the table edge. His knuckles stayed stiff with cold. "From what?" he asked. "Blocked roads. Outsiders interfering with essential services." Dale nodded. "That ditch has handled snow before. Not road salt, not asphalt, not past my marker. Your marker was probably wrong." Marcus placed a photo beside the notice. Bent survey stake, truck tracks, a red ribbon buried under gray ice. Vivian glanced once. "Pictures can be staged." Thomas tapped his cane. "That lane used to run different, before the gate." Every head turned. Vivian's smile thinned. "Memory is not a legal document." "No," Marcus said. "That's why I brought documents." He turned the 2003 amendment toward her. Her blue signature sat at the bottom. Grant leaned over it and went still. Dale muttered, "Could be any copy." "Certified," Marcus said. "Request to extend Birchline Court across a private easement, signed by you." Vivian stood. Her chair scraped, and Ellen flinched. "That was before my current term." "You signed. As a transition officer. And you were told the South Lane stayed conditional." Grant picked up a copy. His thumb left a wet print on the margin. "We should review this with counsel." Vivian snatched it from him. "Stop letting him dictate procedures." The letter brushed the floor where Dale's boots had melted snow. Water climbed the corner, darkening the county seal. Marcus watched the stain spread. "Don't throw away the only easy option," he said. She folded the damp letter and dropped it onto the table. "Dale," she said, "finish clearing operations tonight." Dale looked from Marcus to Grant. "You sure?" Her answer came too fast. "I'm president of this board." Outside, a plow blade scraped birch-lined court, and Marcus saw Ellen lift her phone before anyone else understood what Vivian had just ordered. By 9:38 that night, freezing rain had turned every branch behind Marcus's house into glass. Wind pressed the windows until the frames hummed. On the kitchen table, certified papers lay beside May's photograph, its corner blurred from mailbox water. His phone lit up. Aaliyah. "You home?" she asked. At the table. "With papers?" "With tea." "That means papers." A dull boom rolled across the field. Marcus froze with his hand on the mug. Beyond the sink window, 2 amber beacons moved behind the evergreens. "Dad?" "They came back." "Call the sheriff." "I'm calling the inspector first." "No, call someone who can stop them." Another boom came. The cupboard glass ticked. A truck bed rose at the south ditch. Gray snow slid down with asphalt chunks, torn sandbags, and a broken orange cone. "They're filling the drain," he said. "What drain?" "The one between the field and the house." Rain tapped the roof. Marcus grabbed his coat and stepped outside. Cold needles hit his face. Black water ran from the piles toward the ditch. "Dale!" The contractor stood near the second truck, radio in one hand. "You were served notice." Dale wiped rain from his mouth. "Vivian told us to continue." "She told you to break the drainage clause." "She told me to keep roads open." "That waste will back water toward my foundation." "Then you should have stayed out of HOA operations." Marcus's boot sank into slush. In the cab, Nolan stared through the windshield. He had not raised the bed. "Nolan, don't dump that load." The younger driver cracked his window. "Mr. Ellison, I got warned about refusing routes." "By who?" Dale shouted. "Close your window." Nolan's hand hovered near the lever. Aaliyah was still on the line. "Dad, please come inside." Marcus looked back. His house sat lower than the field, one kitchen light glowing. Through the window, his phone charger blinked beside May's photograph. Then a voicemail tone sounded. Aaliyah's earlier message played by accident. "Dad, I know tonight is 7 years. Mom would hate that you're sitting alone pretending paperwork is company. Call me when you can." The rain seemed to thin around the words. Dale looked away. Marcus lowered the flashlight. His fingers would not close around the wet metal. For one breath, he was back in that kitchen 7 winters earlier, May's scarf over the chair, the county map waiting unsigned. Nolan opened his door. "Dale, I'm not dumping this." Dale turned. "You want Vivian after your job?" "No." "Then pull the lever." Marcus did not speak. His jaw moved once, but no sound came. The second truck's bed rose. The load crashed into the ditch, folding over the buried red ribbons. Brown water pushed toward the porch steps. A light flicked on across Birchline Court. Ellen's porch, then Thomas's window, then another. Faces appeared behind glass. Marcus walked back to the kitchen without looking. He hung his wet coat on May's chair. Water dripped onto the floor. On the table, his phone glowed beside the photograph. Aaliyah's voice came small from the speaker. "Dad?" Marcus placed one palm flat on the certified closure clause. "I'm done asking," he said. Outside, the ditch gave a gurgle, and the first dirty stream touched the bottom step. At 5:49 a.m., Marcus set 3 orange cones in the dirty water at the foot of his porch. The rain had stopped, but the ground still moved. Brown slush crawled around the lowest step. In the field, snow piles steamed in the blue hour, heavy with salt, gravel, and broken curb. He called Martha Lou before starting the truck. "The south drain is blocked," he said. "How bad?" Water touched the porch. "Do not disturb evidence unless there is immediate property risk." "There is." "Photograph every angle. I'm coming." Marcus took pictures until his fingers ached. The red ribbons were almost gone, small wounds under gray crust. He slid the emergency closure clause into a plastic sleeve. At 6:08, Martha arrived in a county pickup. "They did this after notice?" "Yes." "Who ordered it?" "Vivian Barlow. Dale carried it out." Martha crouched by the channel. "You know what you're allowed to move?" "Drainage obstruction, relocated to the easement zone and preserved. Not scattered. Not removed. Not onto County Road." "It isn't County Road." He handed her the 2003 map. Her thumb stopped where Birchline crossed the shaded strip. "They paved over your reservation," she said. At 6:31, Marcus climbed into the plow. The engine shook awake with oil heat and old vinyl. He lowered the blade and pushed the first load from the clogged ditch onto the easement area where Pine Hollow had widened Birchline without permission. Snow scraped asphalt with a long, hard scream. Lights snapped on. A garage door rose halfway. "Hey, what are you doing?" a man yelled. Martha planted a temporary closure sign. "Stay behind the cones. That's my driveway. This is a safety closure." Vivian came out in boots over bare ankles, coat unzipped. Grant followed with his phone raised. "Marcus!" she shouted. "Have you lost your mind?" He pushed another load into the wall. Asphalt chunks, a crushed cup, and a broken cone rolled down its face. "That is our street," Vivian said. "Mrs. Barlow, this section is under review," Martha said. "Under review? He's trapping residents." "No," Marcus said from the open cab window. "I'm moving what you buried." Grant pointed at the sign. "People have jobs, appointments." "So does he, and a drainage channel you blocked." Vivian stepped closer. The ridge gave a thin, frozen squeak beneath her boots. "You're doing this for revenge." Marcus shut off the blade. The sudden quiet made every idling engine louder. "No." "Then what do you call blocking people with their own snow?" "Containment." A woman behind Vivian whispered, "Is that legal?" "When contaminated plow waste is illegally placed and must be preserved for inspection," Martha said. "It can be." Residents appeared in coats over sleep clothes. Ellen filmed from her porch. Thomas leaned on his cane near the mailboxes. Dale's pickup stopped at the gate. He stepped out, saw the ridge, and stopped, smiling. "What is this?" Martha lifted her clipboard. "Route sheets, disposal plans, operator names. 48 hours. Dale looked at Vivian. Vivian looked at Grant. Grant stared at the wall. The sign rattled between them, bright orange against driveways, while the county beacon turned over the first clean proof of what they had done. Grant Wexler called the sheriff at 6:58 a.m., pressing the phone so hard to his ear that his knuckles went pale. "Yes, deputy. An unauthorized individual has blocked Birchline Court," he said. "No, not county equipment. A private plow. He's aggressive." Marcus heard the word through the open truck window and shut off the engine. The morning went thin and cold. Furnaces hummed behind garage doors. At the end of the street, the snow wall sat across the pavement like a gray confession. Vivian stood beside Grant. Tell them families are trapped. Martha Lou looked up from measuring the ridge. They are not trapped. West Pedestrian Gate is open. That is not the point. It is when you use the word emergency. At 7:14, Deputy Caleb Norris arrived, tires hissing over slush. He was 44, broad through the shoulders, with a careful face and a notebook open. Who called it in? Grant lifted his hand. I did. Caleb looked from Marcus to Martha. What am I looking at? Vivian stepped forward. A man punishing an entire community. Marcus took the archive envelope from the cab. Illegally dumped material moved out of a blocked drainage channel. Material? Vivian said. It's snow. Martha pointed with her pencil. Road salt, gravel, asphalt pieces, refuse, and snow. The channel was blocked after written notice. Caleb turned to Grant. Disposal records? Grant's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Dale Sims tried a laugh. Deputy, this is a misunderstanding. Caleb wrote one line. Route sheets. They're at the office. Get them. Marcus unfolded the 2003 map on the hood of his plow truck. The paper snapped in the wind until he set his thermos on one corner. Caleb leaned over it. This shaded strip is his? Reserved private easement, Martha said. Conditional emergency access only. No dumping. No drainage alteration. Grant whispered. That map is outdated. The certification stamp shone purple at the bottom. Caleb tapped it. Certified yesterday. Ellen crossed the street with her phone in one hand. I have something, she said. Vivian turned. Ellen, not now. Ellen's fingers tightened. Yes, now. She played the video. Headlights, exhaust, a lifted truck bed, Marcus's flashlight. Dale's voice crackled from the radio. Vivian wants that south ditch filled before morning. No one laughed. Thomas Reed lowered his eyes. Grant looked at Vivian, then at the snow wall. Caleb asked, May I receive that file? Ellen nodded. I should have brought it sooner. Marcus looked at the ridge instead of her. Its surface glittered under the weak sun. Caleb closed his notebook. Until county review is complete, this closure stays if Inspector Lou says it stays. Vivian's voice dropped. You can't be serious. I'm serious about maps, video, and blocked drainage. Grant rubbed his forehead. We need counsel. You need records, Caleb said. Marcus folded the map along its old creases, slowly, as if every line had to return exactly where it belonged. Vivian stared at him. You planned this. Marcus slid the map into the envelope. No, he said. I documented it. Behind him, Martha placed one more orange flag along the ridge, and plastic trembled over the line Vivian had spent the morning denying. By 8:32 a.m., the county annex room had run out of chairs. Marcus stood near the window, coat zipped, meltwater dripping onto linoleum. Outside, Birchline Court stayed sealed. Inside, the air smelled of burned coffee, toner, and wet boots. Peter Sloan entered with a gray audit case. He was 52, thin, with a trimmed beard and a habit of squaring every page. I need the contract, invoices, disposal logs, and route sheets. Grant folded both hands over his tablet. Some records are maintained by our contractor. Peter looked at Dale. Then he will provide them. Dale's cap lay crushed between his fists. We move snow where the board designates. On whose written authorization? Dale glanced at Vivian. Vivian removed her gloves slowly. The board authorizes winter operations generally. Generally is not a disposal site. Martha laid out photos. Tire tracks, bent marker, blocked drain, red ribbon under gray ice. Caleb stood by the door, notebook open. Peter read an invoice. $8,600 for off-site hauling, January 11th. Grant's jaw worked. Heavy storm. $9,200 on the 12th. $10,100 on the 13th. Where was the snow hauled? Dale's boot scraped the floor. South overflow. That location isn't in this contract, Peter said. Grant spoke too fast. There was an informal accommodation with Mr. Ellison years ago. Marcus turned from the window. No. Vivian looked at Grant as if he had dropped glass. He means practical access. Access is not dumping, Marcus said. Peter slid a blank form toward Grant. If you claim a verbal agreement, write it now. Grant stared until his tablet went dark. At the corner table, Thomas Reed held a paper cup in both hands. Coffee trembled against the rim. I saw the map, Thomas said. Vivian's head turned. Thomas? When they widened Birchline, before the last homes sold. Thomas tried to drink, but his hands shook too hard. He set the cup down, coffee spotting the white lid. They said the Ellison parcel kept the reservation, said not to push snow over the south ditch. Vivian's voice tightened. You're remembering fragments. I'm remembering nobody wanted trouble before closings. Dale leaned back. I bid low because disposal was nearby. That's all. Peter wrote it down. Dale blinked. I mean, not illegal nearby, efficient nearby. Who gave you that route? Dale pointed at Grant. Management gave me the winter map. Grant shook his head. You proposed it. Vivian stood. This is becoming an accusation circle. It became that when invoices billed off-site hauling for snow that never left the neighborhood, Peter said. Marcus looked at Thomas. I should have said it when you first came to the board, the old man murmured. Marcus folded his gloves once. You said it now. Peter closed the folder. Payments to Sims Winter Services are frozen. Mr. Wexler, preserve emails, texts, and minutes. Mrs. Barlow, no further orders concerning that easement. Vivian's lips parted, but Caleb shifted by the door, and she swallowed the words. Peter pulled one last sheet from his case. There is a private hazard mitigation surcharge, billed 3 times to the HOA and signed by Vivian. At 2:06 p.m., the town hall chamber filled with coats and hard whispers. Marcus sat in the second row, archive envelope flat on his knees. Radiator heat carried varnish and coffee. A projector threw pale light onto a blank screen. Vivian Barlow took the front table like it belonged to her. Grant sat beside her, eyes on his phone. Dale tapped his cap against one boot. Judge Nora Vale entered, curls pinned back. This is a temporary emergency review, she said, not a neighborhood argument. Vivian rose. 32 households are being disrupted by a private individual who— Sit until I ask you to speak. The chair legs scraped. Nora turned to Martha Lou. Condition of sight. Martha clicked the first slide. Marcus's ditch at dawn, snow packed into the channel, dirty water at the step. Someone whispered, That's his house? Marcus did not turn. This was placed after written notice, Martha said. It blocked drainage and created property risk. Vivian lifted a hand. That is one interpretation. Currently, it is the one with photographs. Peter Sloan opened his audit case. Invoices show off-site hauling charges, while 2 truck GPS logs stayed inside Pine Hollow. Dale leaned forward. GPS drifts. Peter placed a route sheet under the camera. Not into the same private field 8 times. Grant rubbed his forehead. We believed there was an accommodation. Who believed? The association. Associations do not believe. People do. Grant looked at Vivian. Vivian looked at the screen. Ellen Price stepped to the microphone, phone in both hands. I have the video. Night filled the screen. Exhaust, headlights, Marcus's flashlight, a raised truck bed. Wind scratched the speakers. Then Dale's radio voice came through. Vivian wants that south ditch filled before morning. Thomas Reed lowered his cane until the rubber tip touched the floor without a sound. Grant stopped moving. Vivian's face went flat. A pen rolled off the clerk's table and struck the floor. No one reached for it. Nora let the clip end. Mrs. Barlow, did you give that order? Vivian stood slowly. I instructed continuation of winter operations. Did you instruct filling the south ditch? I did not use those exact words. Dale turned. Vivian. Nora wrote one line. Answer recorded. Marcus was called last. He walked to the microphone with the envelope. What remedy are you requesting? Nora asked. He placed the map on the stand. Stop the dumping. Keep closure until the channel is safe. Preserve records. Review the contract. Restore the trees if they live. That is all? Marcus looked at the paused video, where his flashlight vanished in exhaust. No, he said. I want my land treated like it belongs to someone. The chamber held that sentence longer than anyone meant to. Nora removed her glasses. Closure affirmed. Environmental review ordered. Contract payments frozen. Communications concerning the Ellison parcel are preserved as of this minute. Grant's phone buzzed. He pushed it face down. Behind Vivian, residents murmured. Not at Marcus now, but at each other. Dale stared at the floor. Outside the door, Aaliyah Ellison stood with her coat still on, holding the damp photograph of her mother in both hands. Aaliyah did not speak until they reached the field. The town hall noise stayed behind them. It followed in the tire hiss on wet roads and in the way his daughter kept May's photograph flat between both palms. At 4:19, Marcus unlocked the gate. The smell hit first. Salt, thawing mud, diesel, and sour gray melt pushed off Pine Hollow's clean curbs. The evergreens stood in uneven rows, some bowed, some half-buried, some already brown at the tips. Aaliyah stepped down from the truck. This is worse than the pictures. Marcus shut the door carefully. Pictures leave out the ground. She walked to the smallest tree and took off one glove. Her bare fingers touched a branch where the red ribbon had frozen and torn. The bark was scraped white. Mom tied these too tight, she said. She said wind had no respect for loose things. Her mouth tried to smile and failed. You never told me they were this close to the road. You had enough to carry. I'm 27. I know. Do you? Across the ditch, Ellen Price got out with a paper bag. Thomas Reed followed, leaning on his cane. Mr. Ellison? Ellen stopped before the fence line. Inspector said not to cross. I won't. She held out the bag. Muffins. That sounds ridiculous. Aaliyah looked at her. Ellen's fingers tightened around the handles. I should have walked outside that first night, not just filmed from the kitchen. Thomas removed his cap. And I should have told them about the map when Vivian first ran for the board. Marcus took neither the bag nor the apology. Dirty water clicked under the crust near his boot. Aaliyah said, Why didn't you? Thomas looked at the blocked ditch. Because peace was easier when it cost someone else. No one answered. A black SUV rolled up. Grant stepped out, tie loosened, eyes red. The board suspended me while council reviews messages. Ellen drew back. Grant, why are you here? To say this wasn't all Vivian. Grant swallowed. I signed invoices I didn't read closely. I used words like accommodation because they made ugly things sound managed. Dale's contract is frozen. Vivian's calling it procedural confusion. Aaliyah held May's photo tighter. And you? I'm probably done. Probably, she said. Grant looked at the trees. I'm sorry. Marcus finally took the paper bag and set it on the fence post. Sorry doesn't pull salt from roots. No, Ellen whispered, but it can start with telling the truth in writing. Grant nodded. I will. Marcus opened the gate just wide enough to step inside. He did not invite anyone else. Aaliyah followed him to the second row, where red ribbons hid under gray crust. You let everybody see you steady? She said. I thought that meant you didn't feel it. Marcus crouched, brushed snow from a buried branch, and stopped when the needles broke in his palm. I felt it. You felt it alone. Behind Pine Hollow's homes, a garage door closed. Aaliyah knelt beside him and laid May's photograph on a flat stone above the meltwater. Then don't do that part anymore. Marcus stared at the broken needles in his glove. For the first time all day, his hand shook where everyone could see it. At the gate, Thomas lifted the fallen fence rail until Ellen found the loose wire. At 9:05 the next morning, Clubhouse Wall held the framed winter painting. A sleigh path under white trees, no ditch, no one outside the gate. Isaac Moore, 50, the county representative with a navy scarf tucked into his coat, set a rolled map beneath it and waited until the room ran out of noise. Vivian sat at the head table. Grant was absent. Dale was absent. In their places were county folders and residents who had never attended. Marcus stood near the back. Salt had dried along his orange coat. Isaac unrolled the map. This is the amended winter access plan. Adjacent parcels means Mr. Ellison? Someone asked. It means any land affected by drainage, plowing, emergency access, or easement use. Vivian clicked her pen. The association has historically managed its own roads. Historically, Isaac said, is not a permit. Isaac pointed to a red line. No snow disposal outside zones, no plow waste across private boundaries, no drainage work without written county approval and owner notice. That could slow response time, Vivian said. Marcus spoke from the back. So does flooding a house. The room tightened. Isaac took the winter painting from the wall. Its wire scratched the nail. Behind it, the paint was lighter. What are you doing? Vivian asked. Making space. He pinned the new map there. Birchline Court appeared in black, the Ellison parcel in green, drainage in blue, closure authority in orange. For the first time, Marcus's land was not a blank edge beyond the border. This map stays displayed, Isaac said. Every contract will include disposal coordinates and audit language. Infrastructure meetings will be open to affected neighboring owners. Ellen wrote quickly. Can minutes be posted? Yes. Thomas cleared his throat. And old easement records. Attached to the packet. Vivian stared at the green shape. This makes Pine Hollow look criminal. This makes Pine Hollow look documented. A low murmur passed through the room. Not agreement exactly. Recognition. Isaac slid the agreement toward Vivian. Oversight, 90 days. Independent contract review. Cleanup plan. Replacement of damaged markers. Tree restoration assessment. And if the board refuses, then the county order remains and civil penalties begin. Vivian's mouth trembled before she pressed it flat. The pen rested between her fingers, glossy and useless. From the back, Aaliyah said, My mother planted those trees. Vivian did not look at her. Marcus did. His daughter's face held no demand, only a steadiness that hurt worse. Vivian signed. The nib scratched loud enough to reach every corner of the clubhouse. When Isaac handed Marcus a copy, he did not smile. This is procedure, not apology. I know, Marcus said. Outside, workers lifted the first contaminated pile into lined trucks. Through the window, the snow wall on birch-lined court shrank by inches. Ellen walked to Marcus with her legal pad. The posted minutes will mention your name. Mention the parcel, he said. Thomas nodded. Land first. Pride after. Marcus looked at the new map. Where the painting had hung, the wall now held lines nobody could pretend not to see. Beneath the blue drainage mark, one red ribbon had been taped beside the legend. By late March, the last dirty ridge on Birchline Court had shrunk to a strip of gravel-streaked ice. Marcus stood at the south ditch while a county crew lifted contaminated snow into lined containers. The air smelled of thawing mud. Where the water had reached his porch weeks earlier, boards showed a stain at the bottom step. Martha Lou checked the clipboard. Drainage is open. Soil samples go out today. Aaliyah knelt beside the smallest evergreen. This one might make it. Marcus touched the branch, but did not pull away the dead needles. Then we give it room. Across the fence, Ellen Price waited with a folded paper. She had stopped filming everything now. She crossed to the marker and held it out with both hands. The public minutes, she said. Posted online and on the clubhouse board. I made sure they used parcel, like you asked. Thomas Reed came with a new rail for the fence. His cane leaned against his hip while he worked the wire through the post. Don't let me pretend I'm too old for this, he said. Marcus took the rail from one end. I wasn't going to. In April, the county report filled 12 pages and named no heroes. It listed unauthorized disposal, altered drainage, missing haul logs, false off-site invoices, and board action taken after written notice. Vivian Barlow resigned before the next election and accepted a 3-year ban from serving on the Pine Hollow board. Grant Wexler was terminated by the management company after turning over emails and route maps. Dale Sims lost the HOA contract, paid restitution, and entered a county review program before bidding on winter work again. None of it sounded dramatic when read aloud in the clubhouse. That was the point. Isaac Moore stood beneath the new winter access map and read the changes. Disposal coordinates in every contract. GPS logs retained for 7 years. Owner notice before easement use. Emergency closures reviewed by county staff, and annual training for board members. Vivian sat in the back row. No cream parka, no pen clicking. When Aaliyah passed her, Vivian stood. I'm sorry about your mother's trees, she said. Aaliyah looked at her long enough to make the sentence finish its work. Then remember they were never yours to bury. By May, the field softened. Lauren Hayes mailed Marcus a clean copy of the 2003 amendment in a flat envelope with a note clipped to it. Some lines should stay visible. Ellen brought coffee instead of a camera. Thomas fixed the last fence section and left before anyone could thank him too much. Marcus and Aaliyah planted 6 new evergreens in the gaps. The soil was heavy. Their gloves turned black at the fingertips. A robin hopped near the ditch, pulling at something beneath the grass. Aaliyah took the old red ribbon from her pocket. It was faded, salt-stiffened, and torn at one end. Use this one? She asked. Marcus looked toward Pine Hollow's gate. The sign now read, Private easement. No disposal. Yes, he said, not as a warning. They tied the ribbon to the strongest new sapling. It moved in the spring wind, not trapped under ice, not hidden beneath road waste, just bright enough to be seen. Finished, Marcus placed May's photograph against a stone for a moment. Her smile faced the field, the map, the open ditch, and the road that had finally learned where it ended. The ribbon lifted once and held. If this story reminded you of a time when someone quiet had to fight just to have their boundaries respected, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us whether you have ever seen a neighborhood, workplace, board, or system treat someone's property, dignity, or voice as if it did not matter. Share this story with someone who believes justice is not about revenge, but about making the truth visible and changing what happens next. Subscribe for more stories about quiet resilience, dignity under pressure, and the kind of systemic change that starts when one person refuses to disappear, even when everyone else looks away.